thank you all for coming down. Vincent is my name. So what we're going to do is take a fairly comprehensive look at all of these coating systems for various applications, from internal and external protection of wood, metal, concrete, even colour cleaning and restoring. Could be fiberglass, chrome, plastics, all sorts of stuff. We're going to be doing taking a look at different stains, solid colours, a bit of rust treatment, and what you call anti-corrosion stuff. We'll be looking at roofing and waterproofing, flat roofing specifically, anti-slip coatings. We'll be looking at basically epoxy coatings for counters, floors, tabletops, all that kind of thing. So hardware and surfaces, internal, external, oil-based, water-based, urethane, epoxy. There's a wide range of stuff that we're doing. So that's kind of a little brief summary of what we're going to be looking at, okay? Basically, we have a wood care range that basically spans every type of situation you can find yourself in with wood. From brand new wood that needs to be weathered in, which would be like a seasonite here, to stop it warping and splitting so it will weather properly. We have strippers if you've got coatings, existing coatings on the wood and they need to come off, some of which can strip up to 8 coatings in one go. Some of them are strippers for stains that are basically not film coatings. And then we've got colour restorers and cleaners, as you can see here in the background. This is an example of faded or discoloured wood, and there it is cleaned, and then it'll be basically topped up with a stain. And then you've got all your wide range of stains, so basically there's nothing on this, and then as the shades go on, you have honey, mauvingui, rustic oak, weathered grey, ebony. There's a whole range of colours and stains. So that's a brief overall of the wood care range. Recent times, composite has become fairly popular as well, and with that came basically the issue of the same thing. UV damaged it, and basically what you had is faded like composite. As you can see here, it turns like a rich grey into basically like a very pale or white chalky looking grey. So we've coatings there to restore the colour of your composite. Basically grey and brown, they're the two most popular colours. Basically, if you're doing an old deck up, you'd either one, strip the existing coatings, or two, if there's no coating on it and it's just faded, you put on the Netrol and that'll clean and get it back to its original state, and then you'd basically just choose any colour, stain it. These coatings now would be a little bit different than a bog standard off the shelf stain or coating that you'd find in a hardware. The reason being is primarily that it's a penetrating coating, so what it does is it doesn't sit on the wood, it sinks into the wood, therefore it lasts longer. So overall, these products are actually cheaper in the long run to buy, more expensive on day one because you're buying a higher quality product, but it's basically the performance and the longevity of it, and that's due through the deep penetration of the stain going into the wood as opposed to a film coating on the wood. Lifetime wise, typically a cheap coating will get you a couple of weeks or a couple of months because they're watered down. These would be a heavy concentrate soaking into the wood, and they'll last typically anything from 8 to 10 times longer. Okay. Next section, which is basically rust treatments and stains and stuff, you know, for paints and metal care. So basically the Owatrol oil, this is basically the daddy of the Owatrol range. It's where it's all started. It's used in several applications. So one, it can be used as a paint conditioner for any oil-based paint, and it'll stick to pretty much every surface. It's got a built-in primer, and it can basically be used on wood, timber, concrete, all of that sort of stuff. There's nearly 100 uses for this product. In metal terms, basically, when you apply it to metal, it'll soak into any nooks and crannies. For example, joints and bolts under things where you can't traditionally get, and it'll push and drive out the air and moisture, which, as we know, is what causes rust. So if you basically didn't use something like this and you just covered it up, essentially you've covered up the problem, and you'll see it bubbling and blistering again, and you'll be basically back on square one. The metal will be eating itself from the inside. So that's the Owatrol oil. That was basically the first product in the Owatrol range. There's a couple of other products there that are applicable for metal, which is the Owatrol AP60. It goes off in 60 minutes. There's the CIP, which can be used on all types of metals, and any 2-pack or any type of paint can be put on top of it. And so that's basically the story with the Owatrol oil. So it's a multi-purpose primer, paint conditioner, mix in to any oil-based paint, and it can be applied to basically any surface as well. Okay, so we've also got this range of pre-mixed colours, which is called Owatrol Deco. Comes in a wide range of colours: red, yellow, black, green, brown, white, black, all those type of standard colours, and it basically has some of the Owatrol formula in it. So it's pre-mixed, so basically it'll go onto any surface. It's got the rust treatment built into it, it's got the primer built into it, basically an all-in-one ready to go colour. Well, there's another one just in terms of metals and stuff. We've got a release, and basically it's like WD-40, except it digs in deeper and it basically can loosen even the toughest of bolts. So basically it's a high strength version, and so it's a releasing lubricant. So that's basically that. Okay, so and then going back to the overall Owatrol range, but in terms of painting and decorating, you've also got the water-based version of these products as well. So there's the Owatrol EV, which is basically a mix-in primer, and it can be used with any acrylic or masonry paint. Okay, so you'd mix it into the first coat only, and what it does is it helps your paint to stick to the wall, so there'll be no chalking and flaking and blistering and bubbling. So you know, basically one of the hardest parts on, you know, keeping properly looking right is the exterior paint needs to be kept right. If it's not done, what you will find is parts of a wall will become patchy, blister and peel away, and then you'll be nearly forever trying to get it right by leveling it up, so you'll have parts that are stuck and parts aren't stuck. If you use this product on day one, it can be mixed up to 50% into this product here, Owatrol EB. It can be mixed in up to 50% into the first coat, and it'll penetrate deep into the wall and grab onto it. And then you'll apply another coat of the acrylic paint on its own, none of this in the second coat, and that'll last for years. ESP is another one here. This product basically easy surface prep. So basically what that does is it's a primer that can be applied to pretty much any surface. So basically cabinets, laminates, any type of surface, and there's no need for sanding, etc. So you put that on, let it dry, and then you can put any paint on top, oil, water bait, you can put anything on top of it. For hardwoods, so a little bit different to the Textral and Aquadex range over here. Basically your D1 is a saturator, so hardwoods often used in marine boats and stuff like that. You basically put this on, it'll take multiple coats until the wood takes no more. It soaks deep into the wood, and then you can either leave it at that, or if you want, you've got this top coat, which is a high gloss finish. That's called D2. Owatrol D1, D2. Used for hardwoods, that's your saturator, and then if you want, you've got your optional high gloss top coat. This one here is called Warmcoat. Basically what this is, fairly interesting product. We basically have a sample of ordinary emulsion here, and then you've got an insulating paint here, which is called Warmcoat. So basically, I'll get you to pass it around. So you put your hand here versus here, you should be able to feel. We'll do a test because we've got the camera here. We've often been told, people say on the internet, oh, that doesn't work, people who haven't used it. Everyone who comes in puts their hand on here, puts it in here. You can see it's not hooked to any electricity. I'm gonna give it a shot there. Put your hand there. Can you feel the difference? We're gonna do 10 people. Hold your hand. Can you feel the difference?
A little bit. It's inside.
It's a lot, not a little bit. I use it 2 or 3 times.
Does it give you product?
How it's working is basically it's reflecting the heat of your hand back at you. Okay, so that's how it works. It's basically used in nanospheres, stuff that was used as an acid-based technology. So it's little basically balls with air in them. Basically how a thermal flask you was expecting it.
Can I mix in any colour?
I was just about to show you, there is a out there, but we have it in its basically base form as well, which is, that's your ordinary, and then that's the other one. Feel the difference? Okay. Today we're going to be doing a little bit on epoxies and stuff. These are basically bog standard epoxies. It's a primer and a finish coat in grey. We also do it in clear. Good for basically industrial applications, kitchens, warehouses, all that sort of stuff. It's very tough and hard wearing material, you know. We have a couple of other products here as well for waterproofing and cleaning of algae. Right, so for example, this material here is called Algo Clear. Drum of this material is typically about 50 quid, including your VAT. It can be basically used on any surfaces, so walls, floors, roofs, tiles, slates, basically everything. Renders, particularly acrylic renders and all that sort of stuff, they all are basically suffer from lichen, algae, moss, all that kind of thing. You get this material, you dilute it up to, you can go up to 12, we recommend about 10. So you get a guts of 1,000, it's about 900 to 1,200 square meters out of that little tub for 50 quid. So you'll do a house, back garden, roof slates, the whole lot, put it on and it'll basically stop lichen, algae, etc. from growing and staying there. It lasts for years, so it's cheap as chips.
Would that affect the colour or the shape?
Nope, not at all. Literally goes on like water. You spray it on and it'll just, the only thing it'll do in terms of affecting the colour is the algae. Don't do anything to the slates at all. It'll just kill the algae. And it'll stop algae and lichen from growing again. Even black lichen, so green, red and black. No more. So you'll actually see the colour of your slates. There's a few other products here as well. We do all sorts of site protection, low tack tapes, temporary screens, stuff like that, you know. We'll spend a little bit of time. Stuff for adding in for anti-slip, tile grout coatings for grout to make it white again, and a silicone sealer for it. These products here are for basically temporary site protection for basically covering floors and sinks and counters. And for example, if you were doing an epoxy counter, you could do cover up your tables, your floors, etc., or screens and stuff like that, you know. Okay, so we have a few other products there that we're going to touch on as well, which is basically waterproofing and damp proofing for exterior. So you've got this product here, which is called Ducky, which is basically it's a liquid that goes on. It can be applied in 2 coats, and we also have it in a similar cream version that can be applied in 1 coat. Render, brick, masonry, exterior walls. It'll basically prevent penetrating and driving rain from entering buildings. Often used on chimneys, above flashings, gable end walls, places that are getting a lot of wind driven rain, etc. And basically masonry that has become porous. So you can apply either 2 coats of this or 1 coat of the cream, and that's it, job done. For rising damp, we also have injections that can be drilled into the bottom of the wall. You basically go a couple of inches up, and every couple of inches you're putting a hole in, injecting the silicone, and it'll stop rising damp. The reason these products are basically created was when DPC's damp-proof membranes either fail or if they weren't installed in the beginning in older properties. So you can basically retrofit a DPC into your property using this type of system. Okay, so we've also got stuff there for filling cracks. So it's available in grey and available in red. So you've got basically old masonry, it could be brick or it could be sand and cement wall, and it's getting hairline cracks, slight movements. You can use this material to fill holes up to 12 mil thick. So all from hairline cracks up to 12 mil thick. You can use this material here. It's a 2-part, mix it up, put it in, that's it, job done. Okay, for bigger cracks and stuff like that, we've also got crack stitching kits, which we'll have a quick look at here. I'll take you through how to do this. So this can be applied vertically, horizontally, can even be done around corners. This is for buildings or walls that are moving ever so slightly and you want to reinforce and tie them back together. So basically what you do is, if you can imagine this wall, step 1 is basically where you've got a crack. Let's imagine there's a big crack going from here down to the corner. You'd basically install your crack stitching bar a little bit less than every ½ meter. So you cut a line or chase a line in, another one, and then basically what you do is you put in your flexi grout, pump it into the joint, then you put your crack stitching metal bar in. If it's around the corner, you'll bend the bar at a 90-degree angle and put it in like that. And then what you'll do is you'll put more of the flexible grout to finish the job, and then basically pat it into place. And that'll basically reinforce and strengthen the wall and keep them tied together, as opposed to just letting them float apart then, you know. Also kind of coming into the waterproofing and masonry protection field, okay? Another product for waterproofing, which is a cementitious product, is the Force 10 tanking slurry down here. Basically this material is, you mix it with water, it can be used, number one, it's very competitively priced, it can be used in ponds, damp proofing for walls, internal or external. It can be basically, it's salt resistant, used for rise and damp as well. Yeah, it's a lot of waterproofing applications, also basements. So used in negative pressure, so it can basically be used on the inside or the outside of inside or outside of walls below grade. So i.e. below grade means anything below the clay level of the ground. Okay? So these are all basically a flexible rubber waterproofing system. Lava 20 would be like one of the flagship system of them all. You know, it's basically a polyurethane based flexible liquid rubber waterproofing system, right? And it can be used for restorations of existing membranes, so you know, felt, asphalt, concrete, metals, so that's everything zinc, lead, copper, all types of metals, all types of single ply, PVC, EPDM, TPO, timber, pretty much all types of existing roof surfaces. It'll stick very well to. The adhesion of it is superb, and it can be applied to all types of surfaces and making them all one monolithic or one seamless unit. Okay, that will expand and contract throughout the hot and cold months of the year. It's also extremely versatile and it's impact resistant, so it's very tough. As you can see, there's many ways here of detailing corners and pipes and upstands, etc. So that's one of the big things with this system is it's fairly fast and it's easy to apply, and it'll stick like the proverbials to every type of surface, and it's extremely high quality, and the longevity of it is superb. It's basically the best on the market when it comes to performance and longevity. It comes with a 25-year warranty, it's BBA approved, CE certified, it's all singing, all dancing, it's got all the bells and whistles. So first off, I'll start with a little kind of introduction on each product as they are. So the system comprises of, you've got this quick primer, you have a few primers. Generally speaking, the quick primer is the one that most people tend to use. And then you've also got this mastic, which is basically used for filling holes or any joints, etc. Okay? And then you've got your Lava 20 system itself. So you've basically, it comes in 6 kg cans, 15 kg cans, and your 25 kg cans. You've got these little catalysts that go with them, and that will basically accelerate and speed up the curing time, and it'll also allow it to be laid much thicker, up to 3 mil thick in one pass. Okay, so a quick recap on this. You've got your primer, you've got your main coating, your Lava 20 available in 3 sizes, you've got your mastic for filling holes and stuff, and then you've also got your Lava Detail. This is another product which basically has fibres. It's a little bit thicker. It can be applied around pipes, outlets, vents, upstands, all types of corners, anywhere that's awkward. It's a little bit more like jelly. It's called thixotropic, so it's a little bit thicker than your standard liquid lava. So we'll show you a couple of applications with that shortly. So Lava Detail 20, it's a little bit thicker. It can be applied for details, corners, etc. And it can be applied vertically without it running. Okay, we also have a version of this without the fibres in it called Lava Vertical, and it's basically just for applying on vertical surface, and it's a little bit, as I say, jelly like, and it doesn't drip so much. We do have a 1 and 2 coat silicone system that it's a softer material. The difference between the Lava 20 and this material basically is number 1, impact resistance and tensile strength, and the application. This would be a superior product to all round. You know, the Lava 20 would be, you know, better adhesion, higher impact resistance. You can hit it with hammers all day long. This one would be more so for felt roofs or asphalt roofs, which would be up out of the way. It can be done in 1 or 2 coats without matting. It's more of a repair system. You know, it can be only used for existing roofs, not new builds, not timber. So just going over certain existing surfaces. Okay. Basically, this system here consists of They're waterproof resins that are UV stable, and there's also an aromatic and an aliphatic one. Basically that means one that's UV resistant and stable, and then one that's aromatic that changes a little bit brown with the sunlight, used in brown stones and golden stones. So basically it's used for driveways and paths, terraces and patios, all that kind of thing. Can be applied to concrete, tarmac, existing stable paving like printed concrete, and it can also be installed over this grid system here, which I'll show you a bit more about outside. The kit comprises of 4 bags of aggregate, these 25 kg bags, and then you've got your 2-part resin and glue. And basically they all go into a mixer, they're mixed together, 4 bags of stone, your glue, mixed up. It's laid out at 18mm for drives and then about 15mm for paths, and it's troweled to a flat finish as so. It's permeable, so the water will go through it, and it's seamless and it's flexible. Very nice for working into corners and details around pipes, etc. Okay, any questions on that? It can vary. Generally speaking, we say overnight before you're walking on it. I've seen them cure a lot quicker, like on a hot. You have a bit of time, so basically working time. So they say material has gone into the mixer, right? You've got like about 4 or 5 minutes, about 4 minutes mixing, 3 to 4 minutes mixing, and then basically first scoop goes back in. Make sure your stones are all covered with the glue. It'll go out then into a wheelbarrow, and then you're basically going to put it out into place. You're going to have about half an hour play time with it. 20 minutes, half an hour, and you'll see after about 20 minutes that she's going to start kind of, you'll still be able to move it, but it'll start stiffening up a little bit, you know what I mean? Lay the material out like this, you'll use a rake or a lute as they're called for spreading out the material, and then you'll hand trowel it into finish. It's lovely for working into details like little nooks and crannies of bricks, or you know, block work and stuff like this on the edge. It's impossible to like replicate with paving and slabs and stuff, you know. Nice system. Really a nice aesthetics thing, and obviously it's anti-slip as well. And the fact that it's permeable means that the water will go through and it won't create sheet ice on top. So even it's the only surface that in even the ice it remains anti-slip because it doesn't let it build up on top. It's pretty cool.
It's basically one.
Yeah.
Which is the colour grey.
Yeah.
Brad, when you say you say cold ones, what do you mean?
And then he says, lift yourself when
The
you're
pot in for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I heard that.
Your part A and part B need that colour.
What are you going to wash that brush out with when you're finished? Or is it? Oh, so it's water based, is it?
Yeah, it's water.
Oh, okay. I know you said you couldn't use a roller, but have you heard of a rag roller?
I've heard about it, yeah.
You could use a rag roller to give you that patronage.
Yeah, yeah,
Where we do natural sea sponge too and come up
You
with
could.
a
You could, yeah.
Yeah,
different
Yeah.
effect on it.
yeah, no.
You're probably right. So it's back to the old colour washing system again.
Oh
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a. I didn't know whether that pattern was going to give him. If the paint was thicker with the crack wider.
Ah, I know what you're
If the
saying.
paint was thinner with the crack
Yeah.
thinner, so I was wondering that's why he was doing
Over
that.
time, so over 8 hours, you might see like hairline cracks, but in 8 hours, you'd see wider. It will be wider, and then all what you do is get a brush, lightly give it a brush so any flaky bits will come off.
Yeah.
You know.
You have enough travel.
Where is based? Where is built?
This paint.
Yeah.
Italy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Get on with the flag.
This is gonna be cool.
And is it coming into a kit as well? Is it like a kit or no? They're a mixture of colors.
Yeah, part A, part B, and then pigments is just like whatever. Then you
Whatever
pick
you
pick
think.
you want. You know what I mean?
You can see the way they're mixing it. It's already. Yeah, it looks good.
Make sure there's nowhere for your epoxy to run. We're gonna lay this at 2mm thick. As you can see here, we're setting up this tape, bog standard masking tape. Bang it on, leave an upstand. You don't want flaps like this sticking back down. And the liquid is gonna run into it, so we need a little bit of strength to it. Particular order. Just gonna go in random patterns, crossing over, try and not lap on it. Right, next one. Filling in all those areas that haven't been hit. Right, anywhere you've got little gaps and stuff like that, you can leave your cups for a few seconds. Drain off any excess pigment. Right, give them a couple of seconds and I'll start rolling in. Nice and lightly, you're not mixing this like an ordinary paint. I'll do highlights in a minute. Basically everything, so laminates, flooring, concrete, primarily used for kitchen countertops, floors, tables, all that type of thing. Lampshades, is that what you said? If you want, it's stick to everything.
And everything.
And everything, you can put it on clear, even like artwork and stuff like that, because this stuff will set like rock basically. It's one of the hardest paints that you can get.
Name behind this?
Sorry?
You know, a certain name behind this?
Yeah, it's epoxy. With metallics is what we're doing here.
Hang on again.
Right, I'm just gonna work that into them edges. see there, we're already starting to get a bit of a cool effect. Just lightly rolling over it. All we're doing here is making sure it's all covered. A bit of faith in the process. As you can see, it's a highly skilled procedure. Many years it took me, a dozen, to perfect this. Overnight. Depends on the heat. This is a 2-part thing. That's actually warmed up ever since I put the part A and the part B. I've activated it, and it's a heat activated material, so internally it's going to be a little bit quicker. Right, now we're starting to get a bit of a mix on the go. Very nice. Now we're just very use things like that. Chop it up as well. Don't want to be mixing it too much. You're starting to get these nice little reactions in it. Switch it up now. Very lightly. You're not mixing this, you're just blending them colours to sit on top. What happening here is the pigments are basically gonna, the epoxy resin is gonna combine, and the pigments are basically gonna mix in random formation and then sit to the bottom, and this will all basically be, sorry, you got distracted there. Anyway, the pigments and all the colours go to the bottom, the epoxy sits on top. Gives you a flat surface, it's self-leveling. That looks pretty good the way it is. We'll do a little risky. A few little drips. A few little spots. Say that'll do.
No, around the lips. Around it, yeah. No, you can't park there, my son.
That'll do. Do this, like there's literally no ends to the amount of variations you can do with this material. Basically all sorts of colours, all sorts of swirls and patterns. You can experiment, you can play, you can get marbling effects, you can do blacks, whites, creams, blues, metallics, darks, you know. I'm going to show you how to do this on a table now in a minute as well. Real light swirls, that's all I'm doing here. Working that colour in. Leaving it for a few seconds, it'll self-level. It'll mix in. That's it. Don't go too mad with it. Now, yeah, something like that, yeah. You see it on eBay for £5 now. As you can see, flat surface, loads of colour, cool depths and textures, all that sort of stuff. The longer you look at it, you see it there, it's all starting to mix, all them pigments are hitting the bottom. The epoxy is going to sit on top, and if you look at it like that, it's self-leveling. Right, you've seen me doing the top part, right? Simple enough, you can see it's gone lighter, darker, it's different, loads of colours. They're always going to be a one-of-one unique piece, they're cool. They're hardware and they're waterproof, they're anti-scratch. It's basically can take boiling water, it's heat resistant, so you can put all sorts of hot stuff on a hot place, blah blah blah. Right, the other thing then that's an interesting part to say about this is, you see me doing the flat part, how do you do the edges? Yeah, basically what you're gonna do, look, see this here, I have a nice bit of material right there, yeah? So what we're going to do is leave this alone. We're not going to do anything with it for a while. This material is chemically reacting and it's heating up and it's becoming harder and harder. What we're waiting for is, we don't want it to fully set, but when that thickens up, it's going to be a little bit more jelly-like or a little bit harder. So right now we're not going to take that tape away. But you see that material that's sitting there?
Yeah.
That's what's going to do with the face of it. See? See all that there? Make sure that's all worked out. We've got a nice little river of stuff. And when that gets hard, what we'll do is we'll take the tape away. It'll very slowly come down, and then we'll touch it up with a brush and wrap it around. And then we'll come back and keep an eye on it or whatever, and just brush away any streak marks or whatever that's in it. So typically you'd want to be leaving that for about, on an internal application, about 3 hours or something like that, and it should be starting to get nice and hard then. And you'll know straight away. You can go exactly with what I did there. You go like this. Look at the way I'm doing it now. You can see it's liquid. It's very clear that it's liquid. When you do it later on, it should be a little bit sticky, a little bit tacky, right? It won't scratch like wood, all that kind of thing. It's obviously clean to eat off and stuff as well, because it's a seamless system. There'll be no holes that you can poke in it and stuff like that. Easy to clean, easy to wash, waterproof. Won't damage your timber or laminate on the underside, unlike when coatings or laminate coverings burst and fail. What do? They start swelling the wood. That's unbreakable, simply unbreakable. Also there you can see that there's a little dent and all in the wood. It's nice for bringing old damaged furniture back to life. Another way of spreading them. Colour wise, nice contrasting colours, like that black and yellow is going to sit nice on each other. You get some nice stuff. Usually it's dark. Huh? You don't have to worry about thicknesses when you're applying it or anything like that. Why? Because you can basically 2 centimeters with one version and then 5 centimeters thick with the other. So you should be okay. We're finished with this stuff, are we? We are, yeah. If you just want to clean up the outside there, we're pretty much good to go. You can see it's a lot thicker. at doing new builds. We're going to look at doing refurbs. So the first thing we'll do is a new build over OSB, flat roof for extensions and stuff like that. So where we'll start off is with the basics on trims, and we'll have a quick look and an explanation the same. This here is a drip trim. It sits on the front of your roof or where your gutters are, and this piece here is curved or rounded, and it'll drip into your gutter and take the wet rain away to your downpipes, etc. This is a raised edge trim. So as the name suggests, it has a raised edge, and basically it'll sit on the edge of roof or some place where you don't have a gutter, you know? So it'll direct the water down here. So you'll have a gutter here for runaway, no gutters here, and that's basically will sit proud and high. As you can see here, we've mitered the corners so they go together, right? And that's another one for this side again. Just pop on the base. And you can see here on our OSB deck, we've actually got battens on it as well. So that will allow for this piece of drip down here. So you got your timber deck, you can have your insulation, a warm roof or a cold roof build up, depending on what your spec is. And then it'll come to the main deck and your waterproofing. So you'll basically put a batten and a batten, and then this one will go to the edge of the outside batten here and the edge of the outside batten here, okay? And then your edge trims will go on for your back piece first as well. This here is called a D260, which is a wall filler trim. This part will sit to the deck and this will stick to the wall of the house, etc. So I'll show you what way this goes down. If you want to see it there, that will give you an example. So the first thing we're going to do, a few blobs of glue on the back, glue and screw into position. Kind of a rule of thumb with all these applications, never rely on one. So we're going to glue the top and the bottom that'll hit the deck. That's a high strength adhesive. That mastic can be basically used on all types of joints, on timber, concrete, whatever. Next thing we'll do is we'll get our mortar gun, mastic gun, and we're going to basically take our trims away. Remember these battens we spoke about earlier? We're going to put our blobs of glue on here and just hold it in place. A few blobs on top. Same thing on the edges. This is just going to hold your trims in place. So you'll see you're looking to set this thing, should be vertical flush like that. And you can see it there, it's stuck already. And that's holding it down. Right? So it'll actually sit underneath it. Same thing, push it on. These should meet each other on the miters here. Right? Same thing here. Stop it from sagging out, you know. Some people would foam something like this back here, but you know, don't think we really need it. All that's really doing is just stopping the material from sitting at the back down there, you know. You can't spray foam the whole place. Pointless. Okay, right. So step one, any holes and imperfections. That's what we're going to do now. And all that bag is doing, a bit of plastic at the back there, it's just acting as a bit of filler. No, it's basically it's a pure polyurethane. No, that's actually primer. I'm just using that to give it a bit of pliability. This joint over here. So we're going to just use this mastic, any holes, etc. Then what we're going to do is put a line of it along the joint. So just to repeat the process as earlier, you're going to fill any holes and then you're going to prime them, and then what you'll do is you'll go over it and basically put the reinforcement tape on it then next, which we'll do in a few minutes. See there, I'm going to brush that in and smooth it down in a second. Basically with the like of this here now, we're going to smooth it down using a bit of primer to wet it up. As you can see there, mine splashes there, boys. Should be alright. So you can go straight on with this primer as well. So as you can see here, I've basically made nice smooth transitions from one thing to the next. If there was a joint in the middle, I do the exact same thing. Fill the joint, any holes, gaps could be around the edge of a skylight or something. Same thing, fill it with the PU mastic and smooth it down. You want to have a quick look at this here. I'm going to perfect right angle here, basically without any deep wall fillets and trims, right? I'm going to start from the back. That's the third one, is it? Just working it into that joint so you have a nice transition from one to the next and there'll be no gaps or anything behind it. This is a nice example here. I need to rework it because I've just pushed the material under, pump it and fill it. This stuff fixes rough carpentry and stuff, make a joint from one to the next. The idea of that product is basically to make sure that there's no holes in it. So when you go and lay the material, that it doesn't just fall through the back of it, okay? So fill and smooth any holes, joints, voids, etc. with the PU mastic, alright? A bit rough that corner here. So what we're going to do next is back to this piece, and we're going to prime both of them now. And then what we're going to do is tape them. So this is your super quick primer. We're just going to give it a light prime over the entire area. Back. Primer, solvent based, goes off really fast. You'll see this going up like literally in the next 5 or 10 minutes. This will go off. You'll notice I didn't put pins in on the back here. There's a reason for that. The reason is you're supposed to leave a little gap at the back. Your flashing of your turn bar will go over. A little bit of a breathing space for your roof deck. It's another reason why. You can seal it up and it'll still breathe through, but traditionally speaking, that's what you're supposed to do. Leave a little area at the back for some part of the back of your roof to breathe. This will basically just seal and consolidate the timber. The adhesion off that material is particularly good regardless, but the primer is recommended in all applications anyway. Any details like pipes and outlets, make sure you're priming them too. Particularly the smoother the surface and the less absorbent it is, make sure you have it all clean and dry and primed. By the time I'm finished priming this, that should be nearly ready to go. So I'm going to show you how to do new build roof with trims, timber setup without trims, and then we're also going to do the Lava 20 system on a bit of felt, even though this is actually a bit of underlay. Same thing, bitumen based surface. So we'll do this after. So you're going to see a couple of setups. This setup will follow the exact same formula as asphalt and felt. So we're going to use lava on this, but with full fabric reinforcement. Right, this thing is ready to rock. That's dry, dry. That's how fast that primer works. ridiculously fast. It means you can get on with doing your business fairly quick. Yeah, nice. Right, that's part one. This is our Lava 20 waterproofing. Basically what we're going to do is to start doing the joints. We're going to... Oop, a bit heavy there. We're going to start laying our first layer of lava over any of the joints. So that tape is a 4-inch tape. So what we want to do is we want at least 5 inches of stuff laid down in front of it. So it'll make a nice bed. Right, that's the first one there. That was it. You can fold it in half, line it up on top nice and straight, bed it in. That's it. And then you start from the middle, touch it back, just touch it in, make sure there's no air gaps in it. More liquid will be applied straight over it. Right, so you want to be building this up on these joints particularly, a minimum of 2.5 mil of your Lava 20. And when you got the tape in there as well, you're going to be building it up, it'll end up being about 3.5 mil. Okay. Making sure all transitions from one surface to the next has to be bulletproof. So make sure it's essential that you tape any joints or transitions and give places that are prone to expansion and contraction enough strength. When you do that, by doing this exact process. Now we're going to do the rest of it. Right, we'll do that one. Over the joint, nice and square. So the next one is the same distance, is it? Okay, sound. Next one. Straight, is it? Yeah. Take out any creases as you go. When you lay it straight in one sitting, you'll get no creases. Last one. Bring it over, square it up. Right, just throw a little bit of extra liquid on either end. Instead of putting dry cloth on dry cloth where you overlap it. That's it. Lovely. Square it off. Yeah, nicely. This one. Tap it in the middle. Right, lovely. Now we're going to apply our second layer of liquid over it. Work that in now. Right. .5 kgs per square meter. Measure this either by using a tape on the field and dividing out where your cans go, or you can use a mill gauge as well. Side to side and then back to front. Is a nice way of doing it. Just make sure you're not getting any buttons in any particular area. Should have an even poke. Send us up a bucket there, will you? And another can, please. Ah, it is, yeah, look. You can mess around with it there, watch it for a couple of seconds and it'll sit back down basically, you know. self-leveling. What we'll do as well with this is we might throw a bit of matting on top of it. It's optional, you don't necessarily have to do it. But for the sake of demonstration purposes, I think we will do today.
How long does it take to throw cure dry?
Cure, depends if we're putting catalyst in it or not. I didn't. So this would be a 2-coat job. If you wanted it to cure quickly, you can put the catalyst in it. If you wanted it to cure at its fastest rate, it can be cured in a couple of hours. So basically, put the full catalyst in, you're talking 3 to 4 hours. Yourself asking, 3 to 4 hours when you put the full catalyst in. If you put a half a catalyst in, you're talking about 7 or 8 hours. If you put no catalyst in, you're talking next day. So it depends on what you want.
You said 2-coat though.
2-coat now, I'm not using the catalyst.
Yeah, so if you use the catalyst, you do 1-coat though.
If you can do it in 1-coat, yeah. Yeah, you can apply it up to 3 mil thick in 1-coat only.
Yeah.
So yeah, typically you can do a job like this in 1-coat. Like, well, if you're going over timber, I would recommend doing it in 2, just in case you missed a little screw hole or something like that, you know. When you're doing the trims, be careful not to throw on too much because you don't want drips going everywhere. So, nice and light. You wouldn't, no. Again, you're relying on a fiberglass trim, but I think you'd be better off putting the 2 coats on it anyway, 2 light coats. You wouldn't need as much, you don't need to get your 3 mil fully reinforced on it, you know. Really all the edge trims are doing is just allowing you to get a bit of a profile or a finish on the thing, a drip or whatever. We're not really using it for waterproofing per se, you know. Just part of the edge. Liquid, matting, liquid, and away you go. Going over timber, I think it's usually better to do it in 2 sittings. Here's a little crack that is in it, so we'll repair that well. So every transition from one thing to the next has a bit of tape on it.
Fibers be okay in those corners, so would you rather just
Yeah, it would. Definitely. Mix it up, get the fibres in it. Just make sure that there's some fabric matting that's bridging them joints and gaps, you know. You want to bend around awkward corners and stuff like that. Put it you can basically stick it on over it. And you can leave it there in theory the way it is. If you want to reinforce it, put it on anywhere where you've got a curve. You cuts in it like so. Right down on the base and fold it over, fold it over, same thing again, same thing again. And as you can see there, we can bend it around, even curved shapes, etc. And then we'll use our brush to tap it into place as well and smooth it over. Okay. See, we have a little kink here, we're going to pull it out straight, nice, flat, reinforced, and we'll use our brush to tap it into place. So it's easy when you know how.
Without catalysts, you've plenty of time, basically, to work with.
Oh, loads of time. Yeah, loads of time. Like you could literally crack up like a 15 or 25 bucket, use it all morning, go to lunch, come back, still use the same bucket all day. You know. Wanted to go off quicker, you've got the options in it there. You know. So it's handy. Equally, if you have the bucket and you're doing slow work and you have half it left over and you're doing the deck, so say edges tend to be slower, details like this and stuff, slower, and then you get your bit of life out of it or your bit of pot life out of it, and then when you get towards the end you can chuck a bit of catalyst into it and go off faster to clear the deck. You know what I mean? We're going to start off with the corners and the edges. As usual, details first. Screw holes and stuff like that. If you don't pump them with the material, they're going to have big holes. So we're going to smooth that over now as well. Our upstand is going to get done as well. We'll smooth that in now in a second. See there the difference that little blob of mastic made just holding in the material on the thing. Otherwise it'll just soak and go straight through. Right, corners. These are pre-made corner pieces. Just gonna literally sit them straight in there. Back in first. Get them up on the wall. But can you see that, lads? Because if it was all going to come around this side, I can angle it for you or something, you know? Okay, so we're just pushing it directly into the corner, making sure it's flat in along the edge, no air gaps, making sure it's fully absorbing that liquid and it's getting straight into it, bedding it nice and seamlessly. As you see, you can basically get this tape, you can more or less manipulate it into different shapes. I'm going to show you how to do a flat piece now, just on that edge, drop it down. So we're going to bring it like this. Even if I cut it too big, which I have, you can basically just cut the corner of it down here on an angle and then wrap it around the corner. Okay? So it's a double reinforcement. Can everyone see that, yeah? Pretty important, all these details and stuff. Okay? So you'll see us using basically every part of the system. All tapes, all sizes. We'll use some of the chop strand matting now in a few minutes as well. Good time as well to work this in. Do it with a brush now, yeah. Get that corner worked in down there. When you're doing upstands, here's the thing about liquids. Brilliant on flat areas, decks, details, all that kind of thing. When you're doing upstands, there's a couple of things about it, right? There's a few ways you can do it. One, we're going to do it now, is with normal lava 20 and matting. Then there's also the thick material, which is called lava detail or lava vertical. So if you're using lava 20, you're going to have to do multiple coats, or you'll do it this way with lava and some fleece or matting. If you want to do it with the, or you can just do multiple coats of the material on its own. So we're going to do that now. Just before I put the next bit of tape in, I'm going to go over and make sure all those corner pieces are fully embedded. Around the whole corner or whatever. We'll just trim it on site. Just hold it up and measure the top of it. Hold it to your edge there. To use, cut it to you as much as you need it. Okay, perfect, yeah. I'll cut it here. Fold her in half. Right, hold on a second. Directly in half. Right, we'll press it into the corner. Middle in first as well, yeah? Pull it towards you a bit.
Walk out once you start painting.
Ah, yeah. So you've got a bit of pull on it there. Compensating a little bit here. Right there. Can you pull? I'll detail it anyway.
That's the way out the corner there.
Yeah, that's alright. That's alright. Just make sure you knock your creases out. Get it into the corners. Right. Fold it in half, stick it in. If you want to do this in one coat, just mat it. If you're looking to get it done a bit faster, just put matting into it. the first thing, well obviously we've primed it. Mastic is already down between the joint, or where the pipe meets the deck rather. So if you're cutting a hole in the roof and you're basically filling in the gap, it's not going to be perfect more than likely. You'll pump it full of the mastic and you'll basically, fill and smooth any of those gaps out. Then it comes to the next part, which was the priming that we have seen us doing already. Now we're going to do the main waterproofing part of it. Yeah, I think the fucking flew away or something. Right, that's going to go on top there. Right, so I've just got a strip of 4-inch tape, okay? And as you can see, I've cut these little holes a little bit like a dress or something. And what we're going to do is now wrap it around. Okay, just like this. Sit it down at the edge and we're going to start wrapping it around like this. Right, that's enough. Making sure they're all sitting down. The idea is making sure that the corner is sitting in there. Any little flaps, straighten them out. We're going to put a collar over this whole thing now. Pull that up, making sure it's straight. We don't want any kinks. There is an easier way to do this as well with the lava detail, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Okay, so that's your first part done. Second part, collar that we have, it just cut a hole, fold it in half, cut a semicircle into it or a half circle. Now we're going to drop it over the whole thing. Get it in there, straighten it all out now. Right. Can everyone see that? All happy? And there you go, nice and sealed, double reinforced. There's about 5mm of reinforced waterproofing on there. That'll set, bomb proof. As you can see, nice corner detail there, flush. Right, detailed product, as you can see here coming out, it's slow to come out, it's thick and it's got fibres in it. So we could have used that around the base of this, We're going to use a little bit of it in this corner here. Oop, too much. It's a little bit tricky to get in there. The tricky areas around pipes and outlets, it's handy. And now we're just going to work it up.
You don't actually need mesh for that type with the detail.
No, you don't. Because it's got damn fibres in it, you know.
Just because it's vertical to get it to
Well, the reason I'm using the tape there, because number one, there's splits in this bit of timber. Number two, it's quicker to get the build up on the vertical, you know. Right, so now I just need to tap it all into place. Another coat on there. I'm going to show you a bit of this detail on a vertical surface now as well. The difference in it when you're applying it.
Drying time on that?
On this, the vertical,
Yeah.
couple of hours. Depends how thick you're putting it on. If you're putting it on 1 or 2 mil thick, about 4 hours, 5 hours. This product can actually be resealed and used again as a patch product.
Yeah.
So as you can see there, it's filling in all those little micro holes on the OSB, which is basically like the texture of the strands, you know. Now you have little holes like this. Give it a little rub of the brush. Okay. Right, so this is a piece of bitumen felt. Now spreading it around, you can obviously use a roller, however you can also use brushes too, and squeegees is another nice way of doing it.
Squeegee better than the roller, or
If you're doing big areas, it's very handy for spreading out fast. It's quicker. And you can, we do what's it called, we use like notch squeegees are pretty good as well, because basically you can spread the material really quickly, but without compromising the integrity of the system by way of mill thickness. If you use a flat-headed one, basically you might push it a little bit hard and then it'll become thin. If you use the notch squeegee, Then you have it set at 2 or 3 mil. There you go. Just lay it out nice and quick. Throw your matting in it, with or without matting, depending on what your surface is or what your spec is. And then away you go. It's nice and fast, you know. Any imperfections in the old felt, either cut it and fix it, or cut it and throw it away and then patch it in with a bit of this and a bit of mesh or whatever, you know. You can use detail, mastic. If it's a section that's gone soft, you can even take it up, put timber in its place, a bit of OSB, and then marry it onto this system. Either have it leveled up or level with it, or you can have it recessed or raised up, and then use this to basically marry it into place. Because this system will stick to all of those surfaces, you know. Okay, so that's first coat done. That's it. And then we start at the middle. Roll out any of the lines. Just getting it down there. So no material on it, we're just getting that netting totally embedded in the liquid coating. Next layer, I'm going to spread that out. That's going to give us our 3 mil, 3.5 mil, fully reinforced, absolutely bomb proof. Okay, and that's basically it. Throw another drop on there to finish it off. And that's it there, folks. Job done. That's 3 mil, 3.5 mil, fully reinforced. Stick that to anything, waterproof it, a 25-year spec all day long. That's it, job done, you can walk away.
Or something like that. You'll have a bit of a thicker layer. That doesn't matter, it's a bit thicker.
A good example of that would be like sheets of felt where they join each other. And that material will basically fill in those little holes. The matting will basically break down and mesh in. You'll barely see any of those lines in the joints because you're talking about a 2 or 3 mil gap from one to the other. There'll be a little bit of extra material in those. Generally speaking, they tend to come out fairly smooth looking, you know. It's the beauty of that stuff, like it basically fills in all little tiny holes, big holes, cracks, joints, crevices, and you're just left with one solid membrane, you know.
So even thicker at that point.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect the cure.
Nah. Might take a little bit longer to cure because there's a little bit more material in it, but other than that, no. Same thing with little hairline cracks in asphalt and stuff like that. You don't have to go around and mastic every single one. The liquid will go in and fill up everything and it'll just set like rubber, you know. That's one of the things. It finds all those little things. It'll find the nooks and crannies that you might not even see, you know, and it'll work its way in. Set solid. Job's Oxo. That's serious material. Like we've been selling that for like over like 10 or 11 years. Hundreds of thousands of square meters. Apply that system that way, never fails. Absolutely never fails. It's absolutely bulletproof material. Any questions on that?
What about the weather equation? If say you apply that now, say 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, it rains and you're not expecting.
I could throw a bucket of water on top of that right now. It's moisture cured. So once you put that on a clean and dry surface, right, that can be rained on straight away and it won't affect the waterproofing of it. Worst case scenario, you might see a few little spots on top where it's hit it, where the rain has hit it. But other than that, if I put this if I throw a bucket of water on that, and I will if you want, you can throw a bucket of water on it. You come back the next day and you put your finger under the water. What's under the water will be dry and cured. So it'll cure even underwater, moisture cured. So European, Irish, British climates, all that sort of thing, it's ideal. Once you can get that down on a clean and dry surface, and as I said earlier, there's even a little bit of tolerance in the moisture content of the substrate, get it down on a relatively clean and relatively dry surface, that's waterproof. And it can be rained on instantly. You know? That's rainproof, waterproof now, all day long. You throw water at that right now, come back the next day, it'll be dry, and then you can smack that with hammers all day long, walk on it, dance on it, never let you down. This is just a bit of timber that we threw a bit of lava 20 on yesterday, just to basically mimic doing a balcony or something like that, you know. Right, this is the clear top coat. As the name suggests, it's clear. So we're going to apply the first layer of clear top coat. So. Come back the next day and brush our hoover off the excess. Wheelchair up. Show us a little bit. Usually just sprinkling it on. So normally what you do is you just leave it set like that. You'd come back the next day and you'd either brush, hoover, or get a leaf blower and get all the excess off there. There you go. To mimic same, let it dry. Right, that'll bring you to the next stage. This is one we made earlier. As you can see, top coat was applied yesterday just on the bare timber. We threw the quartz on it, same thing. Again, those little tricks for patting it in. Little pieces that are missed. Again, you can you can sprinkle it in like this and throw a little bit on top. Easy, patch it in, easy to fix. These are all little tricks. It's always handy to know, you know, what to do when it goes different on you and all, you know. Easy to miss a patch, especially if it's all the same surface and you're doing big areas and stuff like that. You can literally patch it in nice and quick though, you know. Same thing, we'll do a little one here. Tap it in with a bit of liquid. Job done. Right. The adhesion, it won't come off. You can pull at it, you can pass these around and everyone can take a go at destroying them. Oh, you can crack the timber all day, look at it. But you won't crack that bloody coating. Not a hope. Bend it back and forth. You can bend it all the way back on itself. The timber will break before the coating does. Look, close up, send it around, bulletproof. Not a scratch.
What about the power washer?
Power washer? I'm after beating it around with a hammer. It's safe for a power washer, yeah, grand. You can probably power wash it with a fireman's hydrant. No bother at all. Couple of medium PSI. I think it's going to be absolutely perfect, yeah. One more thing we have to do to wrap up the Lava 20 system is going to be the top coats. detail we didn't show earlier is basically outlets recessed into whatever the case may be. So basically we showed you how to do circles, corners, internal, external, up, sides, walls, vertical, all that stuff. Didn't show you how to do this. Very straightforward. You get bits of matting in thin strips, little pieces, and just literally rest them inside. Liquid underneath it, on top, and it's basically the opposite of this. Little strips in there, and then you can fit a square or a circle over it, the same size, and that'll double reinforce it then on top. Does that make sense to everyone? There's no need me to do it, but there you go. It's pretty much a flip or an opposite of doing that one. Alright, all we're doing here now is giving this a dark grey top coat. Top coat benefits. Number 1, it looks good. Number 2, it hides the dirt pretty well. Number 3, it's a harder surface. Number 4, it's a bit more plasticky, so it's easier to clean. It's a little bit higher resistance to abrasion. I think it's number 4. In theory, this is the most important one of all. In theory, once applied, the system will last forever because the coating itself is basically totally, what is the word? It doesn't degrade. That's what the word is. It does not degrade under any amount of UV over any amount of time, which is a pretty unusual thing. Because most coatings eventually will get broken down bit by bit over time, but this one is totally UV stable and UV resistant. So in theory, once applied, that system will last forever. We have white and basically this dark grey, which is an anthracite, in stock all the time. We also can do it in about 14 or 15 other colours, including red, blue, cream, green, yellow. But usually they're all special order stuff, like, you know, and there's a minimum order quantity on it. So yeah, and custom colours can be made as well if there's a particular thing, but you'd need to be ordering a pallet of it for it to be made. But yeah, we can custom make colours as well, no problem. Coverage wise, you're going to get about 30 to 40 square metres out of this one tin. You're applying this quite thin. It's not like the Lava 20 waterproof membrane itself, where you're applying it at 2.5mm thick. You're applying this at about the same rate as the primer, so it's literally a thin coating that goes over the top of it. Okay, job done, top coat. Any questions? So quick recap. New builds, trims, side trims, B260s, raised edge, and directing it inwards. A trims, gutter trims, there for your drips. Back trims, D260s, AT195s. Mastic any joints, holes, cracks or voids. Prime it. Next thing, reinforced joints, liquid, tape, liquid, coat the system. Down, you're looking for 2.5mm, about 3.5 on joints. Yeah? That gets you up to this stage. Over here we covered corners, internal, external, pipes, upstands, vertical surfaces. That gets you to your waterproofing system. Next thing, we covered top coats, dark grey, straightforward, put it on, benefits, lasts longer, basically interior forever, more scratch resistant, etc. Last one, clear top coat for anti-slip. First layer, quartz, and then another layer in a clear top coat. Alright, any questions? Good, yeah? Alright then.